Hello everybody, here we are. It's Friday morning of our May Barb and Gabby Campout. Oh, and things have been awesome. We are going to share some really interesting stuff with you. A few things that happened last night are just too much to fit into this meeting, so that'll probably be a separate video. But we'll give you a little clue as to what it is. And we're going to get started here with whoever wants to share first. Not everybody at once.
Yeah. Okay, I'll go.
Okay.
My sister Tina, Debbie and I, went out to the gifting spot yesterday morning, and we brought some stuff with us just to share. We were just kind of poking around looking for footsteps. My sister sat on a log in front of the gifting area, so it'd be the gifting area, and then she was on a log, and the river was behind us, and the log that she was on, there was a backdrop right behind her. It dropped down to the river. So she's sitting on this log, playing her flute, and I was standing beyond, looking at the river and watching her. And Debbie was behind us. And all of a sudden, I see a little streak of a little face and a little body streak by my sister right behind her, about 5 feet behind her. It was about 4 or 5 feet tall. It moved incredibly fast. He had long, light brown hair, and his face was hairless. But he moved so incredibly fast that I couldn't make out any facial details other than it looked at us. It turned around and looked at us, and I yelled at my sister, "Turn around!" because I thought she might be able to see it because she would look right down below her. And then you say what happened.
Okay. Christina?
Oh, I'm playing my flute, and I just paused for a second because I heard, when you hear an animal climbing with claws or with, I'm hearing pop, 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 like something's coming down a tree, and in my peripheral, I see bark flying off this tree right behind me, and then I hear a thump, and then just peripheral again, just a flash.
And she wouldn't turn. I'm yelling at her, "Turn around, look," and she says, "I was afraid to look."
I was initially, you know why? Because I thought it was a bear, because something up in the tree coming down like that, and hearing those limbs pop, I thought, there is a black bear standing right behind me, that's what my initial, and then I've seen her eyes, I'm like, okay, what is it? I did hesitate.
I was getting that feeling of, the hair on the back of my neck, and I'm like, where's Mom and Dad? And I think you might have had Mom and Dad
back where I was at, because I was way back looking for jars and footprints and whatnot, and all of a sudden off in a little bit of distance was all this wrestling, and that was before they were yelling. There was wrestling, and then that stopped, and they were yelling, and I couldn't tell what they were saying, and then it's wrestling again. So I don't know if the little guy went running towards his parents or what.
Okay, so did he just disappear into the brush, or?
It was really odd. I mean, he moved so fast, and I can't understand why did he even leave the tree? I would have never seen him up in that tree. He was definitely scoping out. He was sitting right next to the gifting area. But it was like he dropped down and then realized everybody's right there, because Penny was we're coming up, and Patricia were coming up along the river, so that way was blocked. Because this all happened, and then I see you two coming up. So that direction they couldn't go.
Yes.
And so we kind of had them flanked. I think they had to kind of go back towards where you were.
Right.
And they wouldn't leave a little child out by themselves like that.
Right.
I mean, they treat him, and then, he took off. So he was probably being a little naughty kid.
What we thought was interesting, it was right above a very prominent, with fresh bull tracks and one cow track, right on a game trail, the tree was. We thought that was kind of interesting. And then I thought with Penny and Pat, that they might have been able to maybe look up in the tree and see him, because they were back quite a ways, and maybe it made it nervous and said, I got to get out of here now.
Or it could have been completely intentional, because, it reminds me a lot of the little juvenile that I saw jump out of the tree over the cabin. And like you said, if he'd have stayed put, I'd have never known he was there. You know, but he came down and put on quite a show. He didn't just come down he dropped straight out of the tree, hit a limb, over the roof of the cabin to another tree, dropped down to another limb, back over the roof of the cabin and bounced off the porch roof and was gone. So tell me that kind of stuff is either panic, I had to escape, I couldn't stand it anymore, or I'm putting on a show. We'll let you decide. What do you think?
I was amazed how fast it came down that tree, man. I mean, that tree was probably a 35 to 40-year-old hip fir, probably 60, 80 feet tall. It was just, whoom, you know.
Yeah.
Pop, 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 pop.
Yep, reminds me a lot of what happened at the cabin.
And they just move incredibly fast.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I couldn't figure out, since it looked right at me, why I couldn't make out his facial features other than see that there was no hair on his face. But it still moved so fast that I just couldn't see the eyes and the nose and the mouth or any of that kind of a detail. It was more of a blur. But definitely didn't have hair on his face.
Wow. Cool. All right, so anybody else have anything they want to share?
I just had a little thing happen last night. As you all know, I was a little afraid after hearing some of the stories. And when we went down to our tents, I went in and you told me, just tell them what you'll accept. And I said, I do want interaction, but just give me a little tonight. And I woke up to the vibration under the lower half of my body, so light, it woke me up. And then the scratching on the tent.
Wow.
And that was it. But that was enough for me. That was
Wow,
good for the first time.
congratulations. Okay. Cool, thank you. Okay, who's next?
I got a little bit.
Okay, Anita, go ahead.
Just as I was finally going to sleep, I actually experienced the vibration for the first time. It was cool. It
Oh.
was like from just above my knees down.
Okay.
So I just kind of laid there and was like, oh, this is cool, guys. Let it happen. It was maybe a minute, maybe a little more than a minute.
Wow.
Okay, I'm going to bed now.
Right on. Cool.
That was pretty cool.
Okay. I had gone back to my tent. I stayed up until almost everybody was gone. I was up till 2:30 and went back to my tent, and everybody else was going to go have a camp out, a night sit at 3 a.m. I just couldn't do that. So I went back to my tent and I tried to stay awake, and I did hear a couple of scuffs on the ground right outside, and I kind of looked at Gabby's paws thinking it was her, but she was all tucked in sleeping. And then I think it was Tom, he's camped next to me. I think he was just coming back up from down below, and I heard two very heavy footfalls right beside my head outside the tent, and then just a second later I heard him cough coming up on the other side. So that's all I have to report. We have something else over here that we're getting around to, that if you want to give us just a few teasers, we're going to make a separate video about it.
Yeah, it's a long story, but we had a visitor right outside the tent for about almost 3 hours. We had a bit of a dialogue, and at one point I asked if they wanted to touch my hand. And I put my hand up against the tent wall, and I'll tell you the rest in the next video.
All right. Thank you. Okay, is there anybody else has anything they want to share this morning?
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Tom, when you were walking back, when Bar was hearing these footfalls, did you hear anything?
No, but later on at around 3 o'clock in the morning, when I went back to the real quick just to grab a Diet Coke, and I was meeting these other guys to go to that Campout thing. Somebody threw a rock
Oh.
and hit the tent. It was a small one, but it was like I was bent over pouring the Coke, and I turned around and boom, just like that.
Right on. Cool.
Yeah. So
Oh, yeah, as a matter of fact, I had walked back to the tent at one point last night, and your light was on in your tent, and I heard a deep male voice back there, and I thought maybe you were in your tent, you know, praying or meditating or something. So I was rather surprised when I got back here to the fire and you were here.
yeah, I was never down there. You were there the whole time. I was always up here.
Yeah, yeah. So that was a little startling for me because I turned around and was like, oh, you're here.
Well, that's like, yeah, that's, I think about 30 minutes after that happened, I went back towards my tent for a second to be wrestling one or two, and I heard two female voices talking on that road, but you couldn't understand what they were saying.
Just right up above our camp.
Yeah, I couldn't
right there.
understand. It was weird. Yeah, that was bizarre. So I came back here and asked everybody who's taking the night walk, and they said no one, because everybody was accounted for. So
Yeah,
that was bizarre.
right on. Cool. Thank you. Okay, anybody else? Anything?
I wanted to hear more detail on Bitch's peanut butter jars.
Ah. Okay, Mitch?
Yeah, my gifting site peanut butter jar was off twice in one day. So
Oh. Was anything...
Anita told me it was popped off probably about an hour after I had put it there, or yeah, adjusted it in the morning. I put a new apple. I went back there and it got popped off, and then I put it back on, and then this morning was popped off again. And there were some indentations, like some fingers going into the peanut butter.
Wow, cool.
Popped off, you mean unscrewed?
Unscrewed.
Okay.
On the ground, the jar cap was on the ground. And the apple, the new apple had been bitten, but it was obviously rodent teeth marks. So
okay.
it scrapped the whole apple stuff.
Okay.
So I definitely felt last night, I felt after what happened with Kevin, I came back with the, we did our night sit, but came back at 4 in the morning, and I felt definitely there was something around the tent really close, and I could hear movement. And the difference between last night and a couple nights before is I wasn't alarmed by it. And I just said, I have to go to sleep, and I thanked whatever was there. I said, thank you for, having interaction with my friends. Just a few feet away. It's an amazing experience, and thank you for that. So,
Awesome.
but there's definitely a presence, and it was very low to the ground, moving around.
Okay. Cool. Thank you. Okay. Is that it? Anybody else?
I did have my little gifting. I put a rock and a little gift I brought from home, and then this little bag with a red heart in it. And I put it up against a tree. So if something like a critter ran by and moved it, it would have to go sideways or this way. Whoever was there with me when we were looking this morning, I went back and the one rock had been moved. And so it took me 1, 2, 3 turns to put it exactly where it was. So it wasn't like kicked and slid if something ran across it. It was like deliberately moved 3 rows and left out in front of the other things.
Wow. Okay. Cool. Well, if you got any pictures or
I
you
do
want to
have
add,
pictures.
okay, cool. Send them and I'll add them to your story here. All right. Thank you. Okay. Anybody else? Okay. Going once. Going twice. All right. We're gonna wrap her up. So I don't know how much adventures we're gonna have today because it's pouring down rain, but it's supposed to clear up again tomorrow. So we'll be telling you all about it then. So thanks everybody. Can't wait to see what's gonna happen next. Woo!